Well, in some news just coming through, the Education Ministry has shut down colleges of education across the country. Members of the Colleges of Education Teachers Association of Ghana, CETAC, declared a strike on October 29 over poor service conditions of service. The striking teachers want issues on market premium and research allowances to be addressed by government. But the government has described the strike as illegal and has resolved not to pay them for the period they were out of office. Students of these colleges, on the other hand, have been left stranded in school without any academic activities. Public Relations Officer of the Education Ministry joins me live now. Thank you very much, Echo Vincent Asifwa. Now, just why is it that the ministry has decided to shut down these colleges of education? Obviously, because of the strike, but why now?
Well, let me say a very good evening to you and your cherished viewers or listeners. If you remember, some few weeks ago, CETA declared strike on the basis that some market premium that they deserve have not been paid, or they are calling for government to make sure that those market premiums are paid. On the part of the ministry, like government, what we did was that we made an offer to them that a 20% market premium could be paid at the interim, and because it will have to be accommodated for in the national budget. Further offer was also made that early 2019, government is also going to meet them so that they can reopen negotiations as far as the figures that are supposed to be paid to them are paid. Unfortunately, this impasse had prolonged to this point because there is some sort of misunderstanding, or if you like, difficulty on the part of CETAC to believe government in doing so, or they are even asking for more. That is why we are where we are today. So this evening around 4 p.m., the National Commission for Tertiary Education directed all principals of colleges of education to release students to go home, whilst government is also negotiating with CETAC. So what it means is that the negotiation is still ongoing, and so until we are able to resolve the matters, students will have to be home so that we will be able to deal with the concerns of CETAC as and when it comes.
Now, what's been the update on the negotiations that are going on so far?
Well, as of yesterday, National Labour Commission met with the teachers of College of Education, and there was a direction, or let me say an instruction, from the National Labour Commission to CETAC that they should report to their various classrooms as soon as possible. Unfortunately, on the part of CETAC, they found it very difficult to also accept this. And so they also gave a condition precedent that until government is able to release their November salaries to them, they are not going to go back to the classroom. If you remember, just about last week, National Commission for Tertiary Education again indicated to all principals that they should not validate the salaries of College of Education tutors because the strike that was declared was illegal, and for that matter, we will have to make sure that we deal with the issues as and when it comes. So if the strike is illegal, what it means is that you cannot be paid for no work done. So that is why we have to freeze their salaries, and that is what CETAC is also using as a bait, or if you like, a condition precedent for them to be paid.
All right. Now, please hold on for me. Prince Obing Himan speaks for CETAC, and he's joining me on the line right now. Now, Prince, are you aware of this latest directive from the Ministry of Education to shut down the colleges of education?
No, I'm not aware.
Well, how does that come to you?
I think that it's quite unfortunate. And we envisaged that we'll get to a moment like this and it will be pleasant for both parties, CETAC and the state. That was why all along we wanted the government through the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission to come very clear regarding what we were legitimately asking for. And let me chip in quickly that it is not true. We were able to establish yesterday at the negotiation that there is no discussion, there is no negotiation that is ongoing. Indeed, at the hearing, we were able to produce evidence to prove that far from what people have been speculating, that we broke away from negotiation. Negotiation indeed ended, where government stated their final position. And the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission Chief Executive Officer, who fronted for the government team, indeed indicated that they were going to reopen negotiation the first quarter of next year. And we humbly pray the committee that if negotiation was ongoing, how would you state your final position? How do you reopen something that is ongoing if it's not ended? So the choice of those words, the diction clearly supported that negotiation had ended. So I want to state that there's no such thing. Indeed, we asked that if they are going to reopen negotiation, I don't begrudge the PR because he wasn't there. Perhaps somebody told him. Negotiation will have to be reopened, indeed, so that we will be able to, as it were, go in. And we asked that we should be able to do that between Tuesday and Friday if they can restore the salary. When the National Labour Commission indeed directed that the salary will be paid to the teachers, because what we submitted indicated that we only have frozen part of the services that we render. So this is partial freeze of some services, but it doesn't amount to total freeze of service, which will be strike action. It's choice of word, semantics, that some of the people have decided to call it, strike action. So in that case, we were able to, prove that. So that is where we find ourselves. It's quite unfortunate. We hope that going forward, all of us will be guided by the situation we find ourselves in, and for that matter, come clear, so that we'll be able to find a lasting solution to the impasse.
Now, Prince, you've always been insisting, or CTAC has always insisted, that unless government decides to pay you your November salaries, you're not going to the negotiating table. Are you standing by that?
We stand by that. That is why when the commission said that we should, that the salary is legitimately ours, and the action we took does not warrant, freezing of salary, and that the salary will be paid. We thank them and ask that if that is the directive, then it should be restored and paid so that it hits our members' account by Monday. The only evidence which will, deals to the fact that the salaries have been paid. And the commission said, they do not know the procedure the controller goes through restoring salaries. So they will not be able to agree to or sort of give their word for the Monday, the 10 hitting our account. So that is for the controller to work on that. That is where we humbly disagreed with the commission, saying that if that is the case and they cannot give us timeline with specific dates, like it will be paid this time, then it means that it could happen that it will take a month before the thing will be restored, where we inconvenience our members, go if not ask somebody to save our money for us. So that is where, after all these things, the commission finally said that they give us up to Monday, 2 o'clock. CTAC and Fair Wages and Salaries Commission to us it were submit a roadmap indicating how we are going to engage one another and now understanding how they are going to reopen the negotiation for us to agree on what to do. Other than that, they will drag us before them, and then we'll begin the process of compulsory arbitration. And I think that is where we have to head towards, compulsory arbitration.
All right, so I still have Echo Vincent Sefua on the line. Now, Echo, how do we move this forward and bring closure to this impasse?
Well, I think Prince just indicated that the only way for us to be able to deal with this particular issue, especially at the point that we find ourselves, is a compulsory arbitration. And so National Labour Commission will have to give a ruling.
All right.
The ruling that will be given by National Labour Commission will be seen as a decision of the High Court. So failure to abide by that ruling means that it is almost contempt. And if you have any redress, you may have to go to an appeals court. And so we wouldn't have avoided that we get to this point, but it is almost imminent that we have gotten to a point that is not pleasant to anybody. And so let's see what the coming days has for us.
All right, thank you very much, Echo Vincent Sefua, who's a public relations officer of the Ministry of Education. Also, thank you to the president of CTAC for making your views known to us here on Joy News Prime. Moving on, now 9 persons involved in a gun battle at a hospital here in Accra have been remanded into police custody. The attack on the Shao Sudoku Hospital by a faction fighting over a parcel of land is said to have caused staff there to flee the facility. The assailants had gone to the hospital in pursuit of members of the other faction who were being treated there after an earlier clash. Medical Superintendent of the Shayo Sudoku Hospital, Dr. Kennedy Brighton, is calling for police presence at the health facility to reassure staff. Maxwell Ogba visited the hospital Friday morning and has filed the following report.
It is all calm here at the Shai Osudoku District Hospital at Dodowa. Patients and nurses are going about their normal duties. Patients here are also being attended to by the health personnel here. That was not the case on Wednesday when two armed groups extended their gunfight here. Doctors and nurses, including patients, were left with no option but to flee for their lives. For the medical team on duty who are attending to the other group who were injured, badly injured with machete wounds, they were not spared as the other group attempted to gain access to the emergency unit to cause further harm to their opponents. Security personnel here who were unarmed had no choice but to use benches to prevent them from getting access to the emergency unit. Medical superintendent here, Dr. Kennedy Brighton, wants the security here to be augmented.
It is high time we got proper security, not necessarily police or military presence, but our security should be taken with the other security we have. There are not many because they are not on government payroll. We try to pay them from our own IGA because the place is big. We need security, and then the security should be armed, not necessarily with guns. There are other forms of something that can paralyze somebody for a short period of time. They should be giving some things. I mean, this pepper spray or those things that can make the person weak, then we can manage and calm down the situation. Because our security have to go and carry benches to block the entrance into the emergency room. So that they want access to it to kill those who are already wounded and were managing. Yeah, it was a bad situation.
Divisional Commander of the Dodowa Police, Chief Superintendent Patrick Kwapon, says 9 people connected with the violence have been arrested by the police. They were remanded this morning and are set to reappear on the 6th December. He has been providing details on exactly what happened.
The estate developer has gone back to the area to visit the land. So when he went there, the estate developer was having a chat with somebody who is close to the land, but not on the land, but asked his boys to go to the land. They have a poultry farm there and visit the area, and that he's having a chat with somebody and he will follow suit at a later time. So as he was speaking with that person, he had a call that his boys have been attacked. But before that, those from that area, the indigenous, had also come to the station with a prompt action that the estate developer boys have come to attack them.
We're taking a break here on JoyNews Prime, but still ahead in the bulletin, NDC flag bearer hopefuls concerned about exorbitant filing fee meet party founder for possible downward review.
Party. The fees proposed by our National Executive Committee are out of line with the history, the philosophy, and the values of the National Democratic Congress.
The party's General Secretary, however, explains the 400,000 cedi fee is largely informed by the projected cost of the upcoming presidential primary.
Mobilizing close to 300,000 delegates. Precisely, it will be about 275,000 thereabout delegates at constituency centers.
Okay.
The least you will be spending in this mobilization, just moving them from their places to the constituency centers, will be 3 million.
Now, the General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress is urging the party's flag-bearer hopefuls pushing for a reduction of the filing fee to come up with other ways to finance the upcoming presidential primaries. Johnson Esedun Ketia's comment comes as more candidates kick against the 400,000 CD fee. Former Trade Minister Kospio Gabra, like several others in the party, say the amount is too high and contradicts the NDC's social democratic credentials.
I think most Ghanaians feel that the fees proposed by our National Executive Committee are out of line with the history, the philosophy, and the values of the National Democratic Congress. I think that's what is important. It is the history, the values, and the philosophy of the National Democratic Congress that is in question, because we have described ourselves as a social democratic party, which most people understand to mean we are a party that is concerned about the challenges facing the downtrodden, the poor in society, and a party that will normally take the appropriate measures to protect the interests of the poorer members of our society. Now we have an opponent called the New Patriotic Party, NPP, who have introduced something called a free senior high school system, where even the children of rich people are having their school fees paid for. And the finance minister has, for example, come out and said, why are we paying the children of wealthy people's school fees? A newspaper, Daily Graphic, had a conference recently where people were asked, if you had to pay your own children's school fees, will you be willing to pay? And I think 80 or 90% of the people in the room reportedly raised their hands. So we are in a competition with another party which is trying very hard to show that it is closer to poor people and even willing to pay for the school fees of rich people.
But Mr. Esedun Ketia says the party determined the fee based on projections on how much it will cost to organize the upcoming primaries.
The cost of mobilizing close to 300,000 delegates, precisely it will be about 275,000 thereabout delegates at constituency centers.
Okay.
The least you will be spending in this mobilization, just moving them from their places to the constituency centers, will be 3 million.
3 million cedis.
Even if you are very, very prudent, with the most prudent figures.
Okay.
You need to mobilize them to these centers and feed them. If you add feeding, you are getting somewhere beyond 4 million. Then you come to the election. What goes into the election? First of all, we will do printing of ballot papers for the whole country. It comes with a cost. That cost is not determined by the national executive. It is determined by the state of the economy and what they will be charging you. Apart from that, you need to engage the Electoral Commission and pay them for conducting and supervising the election throughout the country. The laws of the country indicates that the elections, internal elections within political parties are by law to be conducted by the Electoral Commission. And yet, the state doesn't seem to find any funding for the Electoral Commission to undertake this activity pro bono. We always have to pay. It takes you in the range of close to 8 million or so cedis to organize that election.
Okay, that's transportation and food.
Yeah, I'm just giving you estimated figures.
Right.
Yes. You take the dues that are paid, that is the first source of funding to the party. You look at the dues, how much is available. You look at donations, how much is available. And then you look at what type of fundraising activities you'll be engaging in to be able to raise the money.
So how much is available?
So the fundraising that we have to engage in must be led by all of us.
Is the NDC so broke that you can't take care of all of these without, if you don't charge the aspirants 420,000 each?
You see, first of all, we have to understand the questions we ask. When you say broke, what does it mean?
You don't have money, that's what it means.
We don't have money in the coffers, but these are the means of raising money.
No, but
He says the party is open to suggestions as to how to finance the presidential primaries, especially from the aspirants.
I was disappointed that none of them appears to be giving us suggestions as to the way forward. Just complain. It's like when you take the Bible and you read Lamentations alone, you just become sorrowful, and that's it.
That's what they're doing?
That, in my view, yes. Because I think that if they had proceeded to read Revelations, then they will reveal to us their new and better ways of funding this,
Are you not mocking their they're raising?
No, they're raising. I'm saying that they are part of the solution, but they present themselves as if they are not part of the solution at all. Well, they're free to send their petition wherever they want to send it, and I'm sure it will be handled.
The NDC General Secretary responds to criticisms that the filing fee is too high, said on Thursday that the NPP demanded 500,000 cedis from Flagra hopefuls at its last presidential primary. This has, however, been challenged by the governing party, which is asking that he retract. Though Mr. Sedu would not, he considered he may have made a mistake.
And the NPP says you lied yesterday.
I thank them very much for whatever correction they claim to make. I'm not going to contest them. Freddie Blay, listen. Freddie Blay coughed up $11 million and came
to file?
No, not to file. Not to file. To buy buses, to bribe delegates. It is not even a way of putting money into the party. One candidate coughing $11 million to buy buses to bribe delegates so they can vote for him.
How do you say he bought buses to bribe delegates?
Why are they bringing themselves into this controversy?
We need to settle this. Did you get your figures right? Did you lie? Did you deliberately lie, or did you make a mistake with the figures?
No. Now that they have corrected.
No, where did you get the 500,000 figure from, by the way?
What did they indicate how much they paid?
You said they paid 500,000.
Did they indicate how much they paid?
It should be noted that on June 6, 2014, this is, and I'm continuing with this release, towards the preparation for the last presidential primaries, the nomination fee approved by the National Council was 10,000 cedis, and the filing fee is 75,000 cedis. Well, so 75,000 cedis plus nomination fee, which was 10,000 cedis. It's not 85. Anywhere. It's not anywhere close to.
I'll take their correction.
So did you? So as they're saying that this was a deliberate lie that you told. Did you deliberately lie?
I'll take their correction, but I'm saying that I know more than they think I know. But I'll take their correction.
No,
this was a figure they are.
We don't know what you know.
I'm saying that.
But what we know is that you mentioned a figure which is turning out to be a lie.
I have said that I will take their correction.
So you lied?
But I know, no. Lying means having something and deliberately telling something that is untrue.
So why did you say 500,000 when you didn't know?
Everybody is capable of making a mistake. You can make a mistake in mentioning figures. I don't have any problem with that. But I'm saying that I know more than they think I know.
Will you apologize to the NPP as they are demanding in this press release?
Let's make progress.
The National Democratic Congress Flagra hopeful, Sylvester Mensah, says flagship policies of the governing New Patriotic Party have failed. Sylvester Mensah, who is seeking to lead the NDC in the 2020 presidential election, claims Ghanaians are disappointed in the NPP, adding SHS policy has failed. He's alleging parents are now paying more under free SHS. He also explained that the double-track system introduced in September as part of the free SHS system meant that parents had to look for teachers and pay them to organize extra classes for their children when their track is on break. He was speaking to some delegates in the Volta region as part of his tour.
The NPP as a political party is failing. One district, one factory has failed. Yes. We are now talking about one fisherman, one sea. Free SHS has failed. As we speak today, your son, your daughter goes to free SHS and would have to come home on holiday for 3 months. And 3 months twice in a year. every parent for 3 months would want to arrange some extra classes, vacation classes for the ward. Everybody will do that. What that means is that the cost of education becomes even far more than you can imagine. And that is free SH. If you have a daughter who comes to sit home for 3 months, a young girl who has begun developing adult features, for 3 months, you'll be lucky to go back. It sounds funny, but it's a serious matter. The NPP must be kicked out of office.
What we're saying with the National Democratic Congress and the efforts by the presidential or the flag bearer hopefuls to try and bring down the 400,000 cedi nomination or filing fee. I'm joined on the line right now by Elton Brobe, who has some information about the meeting that's taking place between the presidential flag bearer aspirant hopeful and the founder of the party. Thank you very much, Elton. So what can you report as far as this meeting with the former president and founder of the National Democratic Congress is concerned?
All right, so easy. What I have is that some few minutes ago, about 15 minutes ago, I spoke to one of the presidential hopefuls, and he confirmed to me that indeed all of them were in a meeting. The meeting started about 30 minutes ago, and they are deliberating on the filing fees as announced by the leadership of the NDC, pegging it at 400,000 for those who have ambition to lead the NDC in the 2020 election. Now, the feeling I'm getting from the hopeful I spoke to is that almost all of them are against the figure set by the party. They have the view that it is on a high side and it defeats the NDC socialism ideology. So all of them have met. What I've been told is that the former president is not at this particular meeting.
When you say the former president, you mean former President John Mahama, who is
John
also
Mahama. My information is that he is not at this particular meeting. This meeting is at the behest of Second Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Alban Babe, who himself is bidding to lead the NDC in the 2020 election. Now, the meeting is still ongoing. My information is that when they finally reach a decision, as far as the nomination fee is concerned, they will first meet with the founder of the party, former President Jerry Rawlings, who is also chairman of the Council of Elders of the party, and then try to get him to back their position. And then Monday, they will hold a meeting with the leadership of the NDC, the National Executive, and then communicate to them their position on the 400,000 filing fee announced by the party this week. What I'm thinking is that they will demand a downward review of the amount, and so that information are picked. But they are yet to come to a final conclusion on this meeting, which is currently still underway at a place they want to describe it as secret.
All right, now, Elton, from what you're telling me, I would want to understand that they haven't met the founder of the party yet, which is former President Jerry John Rawlings. They're meeting by themselves and then come to some position, which position they intend to take to the former president.
Exactly. And indeed, even before I spoke to this presidential hopeful, I spoke to the secretary to the former president, who indeed confirmed to me that they have received word from, he described it as coalition of presidential hopefuls of the NDC, that they want to meet the former president tomorrow, Saturday. And my understanding is that by that time they would have come to a decision, and then their meeting, from what I've been told, is to get him to support their position that the figure, as announced by Johnson and Ketia, is on a high side, and there must be, and something must be done about it to review it downward. And indeed, that meeting, I'm told, is tomorrow, Saturday. What is unclear is whether the former president has given them the audience to come as to which time of the day. But they've communicated their intention to meet him tomorrow, Saturday.
All right. Thank you very much, Elton Brobe. And we're taking a break here on JoyNews. Frank will bring you. Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu has assured Parliament is committed to passing the Right to Information Bill into law. The assurance comes after members of the coalition pushing for the passage of the bill stormed the House Friday to demand passage. Joseph Opoku-Gakpo has more.
Members of the RTI coalition were in the House earlier in the day, but a number of them were stopped as they attempted entering the House.
wanted the Public Affairs Department to come and clarify the issues before he allowed some of the civil society heads to enter, although some had already entered.
The issue got resolved eventually with the intervention of the minority leader, Haruna Idrisu.
This is the House of the People's Representative, and therefore unfettered access to the citizens of Ghana, to Parliament, and all its structures would at all times be made available. The measure will resolve it as soon as practicable.
They've been here for the last 20 minutes or
within
so,
the next second, be assured that they would be allowed to participate as observers in the proceedings of Parliament.
The president of the Center for the Employment of Persons with Disability, Alex Tete, says he was stopped from entering the chamber by the security people on the basis that he is a disabled person and that he won't be able to rise when the speaker is entering or leaving the house.
Yeah, I was told I cannot enter because I am a person with disability. I cannot stand when the speaker is coming or when the speaker is rising. So I was denied access to the Parliament House because of that.
So to the gallery. Who exactly told you that?
Yeah, the security people who were managing the gate. I was sad. I cannot understand why I cannot enter because of my disability. I did not cause my disability. It's no fault of mine. And why should I be denied a right or access because I'm a person with disability?
What intervention would you want to see, particularly from the speaker himself?
I think the speaker must address an intervention is to sound a caution or make a declaration that persons with disability should be allowed to enter and that they should be allowed to sit even if required for everybody to stand.
Leading member of the coalition, Akoto Ampao, says they want a credible RTI law passed as soon as possible.
We've been concerned that over the years, Parliament has persistently disappointed the people. We want to ensure that it doesn't happen again. That's different. We want to ensure that it doesn't happen again. And that is why we are here today, 2 years into the term of the MPP administration.
Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu gave the assurance that the House is committed to passing that law as soon as possible.
There is absolute and unwavering commitment by Parliament and its leadership to ensure that the Right to Information Bill becomes law. We will work diligently and more assiduously in the coming days to get it passed. It's a matter of what business we have now. We are looking at budget estimates and matters of appropriation, which is equally important. But even along the line, we will be able to work through that.
From Parliament House in Accra, Joseph Opoku-Gakpo reporting.
Now, the Electoral Commission says as part of its preparation towards a referendum on creation of new regions, it is accepting applications for transfers of votes from other districts within the country to districts of the carved-out areas. At a media briefing Friday, Deputy Chairman Operations Samuel Tete emphasized the Commission is fully prepared to carry out a successful referendum on December 27, 2018.
All applicants who for one or two reasons have actually relocated. That is, they have moved from one area to the other and would want to take part in the referendum will have the opportunity to go to the district office to transfer his or her vote. It is the same as proxy, probably because on the day of the election, you cannot actually be there physically because you are sick or you'll be away. Applications for proxy as well as transfers are to be done in the carved out areas, which are Brong Ahafo, Bono East, Savannah, Northeast, Oti, and Western North. Any applicant who would want to transfer his or her vote from the non-carved areas to districts in the carved areas can do so from the 2nd up to the 6th. We need to take into consideration those who are qualified to transfer their votes. And they are people who have registered outside the regions that I have mentioned, that is the carved out areas. And they also have been resident in any of the districts within the proposed region for not less than 12 months.
It told JoyNews for the areas designated to become regions, 50% of the eligible voters must take part in the referendum, with 80% of them voting yes for it to be successful.
Commission is liaising with the Ghana Police Service to list all those areas that we think we may have security challenges for the security services to address them. We are prepared in terms of currently we are going to train our officials who will be manning the police stations. We are procuring logistics for the referendum. I don't know, but there is nothing that we don't actually have to conduct the elections. Well, as for the number to turn up for the elections, that's why we can't tell. But we know that by law, 50% of the voters should vote, and then 80% should vote yes.
Now, as health experts are warning of increases in new HIV infections, one of the reasons assigned to it has been the lack of testing among Ghanaians. Now, to prove how easy it is to get tested, JoyNews' Gifty Andra went through the process, and she was willing to share her results.
Hello. Welcome. Thank you. I'm here to check my HIV status. Okay.
Yes. What do you know about HIV?
I know it's a bad disease, it's a bad infection.
Yes. HIV is a virus. When it gets into your system, you will never know until you check. So once you are here to check, we congratulate you for that.
Painful pinch it is, but this is nothing compared to the consequences of ignorance of your HIV status. The Ghana AIDS Commission says the HIV prevalence here in Ghana has shot up over 70%. Now, one of the reasons for that scary statistic is because people don't do what I'm doing here today, checking for their HIV status. One is on C.
One is on the C that controller.
NDOH, APPIAH. I've just finished testing for my HIV status here at the Adabaka Polyclinic. Now, since the 1930s, the world has been battling with an unknown virus, HIV. It's been almost 90 years, and we're still figuring out a lasting solution. Well, just when we thought we had come a long way here in Ghana, the National AIDS Control Program is saying that HIV prevalence has shot up from about 12,000 in 2015 to over 20,000 in 2016. Now that's where you pause to re-examine your lifestyle. Testing, they say, is one of the surest ways to be sure and to save yourself from contracting HIV. But here at the Polyclinic, these empty seats says it all.
The fisheries sector needs urgent reforms to ensure food security. That's according to Director of Hen in Puano, Kofi Agboja, who believes transparency and accountability by stakeholders are key to transforming the sector. He was speaking to JoyNews on the sidelines of a roundtable discussion to map a pathway towards improved transparency in the management of Ghana's fisheries sector. Henry Kwesi Bedu has more in the following report.
The African Union estimates that $2 to $5 billion is lost annually due to the mismanagement of African fisheries, attributed to inadequate transparency. Serious issues have been raised, with experts warning Ghana's food security could be threatened if activities in the fishery sector are not properly streamlined. Director of Hen Mplano, a non-governmental intervention, said the fishery sector needs to be cleansed. He explained it's crucial for the government to sign on to the Fisheries Transparency Initiative to increase transparency in the sector.
I'm looking at two issues: getting transparency in our own fishery sector as practitioners. This will bring a lot of benefits. If we are transparent in our dealings, then on the global level, we can sign on to the FITI principles, which will be binding on us. So it will make the country, every step of the way, our policies will make sure that things are transparent. Well, in the fishery sector, there is so much opacity. There's criminality, there is illegality, just because of the lack of transparency in the dealings. We have to know, for instance, that when we catch 100 pieces of tuna, only 5 is eaten by Ghanaians. The 95 is taken away. This is just an example. So if you have an industry where 90% of the profit that is supposed to come into the country flies to another country and you don't see it at all, it is a big problem. Once we begin to have a lot of transparency, things cannot be hidden, and therefore some savings or rent, if you put it that way, will begin to come to the country.
Deputy Director in charge of administration at the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture, Thomas Nsiedo, says government is committed to becoming a member of the Fisheries Transparency Initiative.
The stand of the government on FITI is that the country is indeed committed to the Fisheries Transparency International. More so because at this time in the history of fisheries, we are confronted with a lot of problems in the sector. Almost every aspect of the industry is under some challenge. And when challenges come, you need to have all the actors, focusing in one direction. And the only way to do that is to break the barriers of communication. I mean, people should share knowledge freely, so that together all of us will resolve the problem.
The Fisheries Transparency Initiative seeks to address perennial concerns of fisheries data collection and reporting, vessel ownership and licensing, and fisheries development concerns. Henry Kwesi Bedou's report for Joy News.
And that's it for the bulletin. My name is Israel. You have a good night.
This is Joy News Prime.